Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center right now, early on this Wednesday morning with a severe thunderstorm warning in play for areas around Valdosta and Lowndes and Lanier counties here until about 1:45 a.m. I know we were kind of thinking we might get a warning action here based on what we are seeing earlier around period to minutes before it got into town, but unfortunately this is really strengthened right over Valdosta here, requiring a warning to be issued by the National Weather Service in Tallahassee. So seeing some wind damage potential there right now in the northeast side of town. Hope you're inside and away from windows. This is strengthened here on us. We had the advisory, but now getting a warning situation to develop here as this does impact some of the different areas here in the northeast side of town there at this present point in time. It's moving in toward Lanier County and up toward Lakeland, Georgia here in a little bit, but right now I've got to make sure folks are inside and away from windows at this very early hour. A lot of folks are asleep, obviously, so hopefully there's not any tree limbs there or trees that are in vulnerable positions for folks while they're asleep. That wouldn't be good, obviously. Hopefully we don't have winds quite strong enough to do any type of damage where you would have something like that falling on a home or anything to that level here. This is just kind of marginally severe, but we're going to jump on since there's that population density factor really here, right still in Valdosta. You can kind of see here just east, it looks like State Road 125, just north there, US 41 and US 221. So it's not quite as strong as it was just a moment ago, actually. I mean, we were getting these signatures there. You saw that signature right at about 12:57. We were really getting the winds up there right on US 41, and then the warning got issued here, and this was the scan right at that time. Winds to about 50. I mean, this is why things just it's changed so rapidly here in this type of setup. I mean, this is getting tad closer to the radar, so it could maybe not be weakening as quick as it suggests because it is a little bit closer toward the radar site, which is over here. Again, this warning being issued in the last 10 minutes. Report to Lanier and Lowndes counties here in south central Georgia. Seeing there, it's a thunderstorm over by Valdosta at about 12:59, moving northeast at 20 miles an hour. Again, this is live at 1:09 in the morning. We don't get this again very much this time of year. We were alluding to that in our live update earlier on. But Lakeland, Valdosta, Moody Air Force Base over toward Meigs, Naylor, Barrett, Hansel, and even over toward maybe Stockton there as well. So just have to be kind of cognizant of what's going on here right now. We're monitoring it. Let me zoom out a bit, see if we have some other areas we need to watch. We do down toward the Gulf Coast here. So let me go ahead and take our warning information off and zoom down here south of Perry. A little more rural down here, but we have some wind enhancement. Could get another warning here in this spot as we're looking in our area. We hadn't had warnings in a while. Got close for Perry. We keep seeing that here because we were mentioning that here in our update. I had to delay that a few minutes to see it. Some things switched over, but you can see here some wind enhancement now, and after low and warnings for a while, could get our second warning in our area here in just a little bit in this overnight hour, which again is something that we have the capability to get sometimes in these patterns. We didn't have as much storminess necessarily here for a while, so I mean that kind of played a role. But as I say that, you'll be able to kind of see that overall we have had quite a bit of rain in this area. So a resilient type of setup to some degree here. You can see we had 2-3 inches there. I zoom in toward parts of it. Looks like Taylor Creamer had a flood advisory in play here. You can see up toward areas around Quitman there, 2-3 inches. That's over there in Brooks County, just so you guys know, not Quitman County, Georgia, but then right over there, quite a bit of rain. Rain in northern Bradford earlier. You see southern St. John's got a bunch of rain. There was even a funnel cloud report. It didn't have a warning, but we were talking about some threats earlier on and had to jump on for those. So it's been a pattern. Again, we don't want it to be on at 1 in the morning in the summertime setup, but it's a little more enhanced because we have a frontal boundary here in the vicinity. Not that we're expecting like tornadoes or anything like that, but still, just have to be kind of careful here in this type of setup. So again, just continue to watch. Still that marginal risk in play. Actually, I don't see that too often. Instability values, you can see them kind of extending on in there, but I was mentioning earlier that we're going to have trouble getting anything out toward the Live Oak Lake City area because you can see a lot less instability. Got some more destabilization toward Duval County in general here. Though I'll go back 4 hours, you can see how we just haven't been able to get that area to stabilize there around Lake City Live Oak. This is energy value information, only 200, 300 joules per kilogram then, and now, I mean, we're tracking 200 or 300. It's just not happening down there toward Live Oak and Lake City with storms right now. And the storms have a tendency to form and develop and strengthen in areas that are more unstable. And we have some of those here at this late hour. You can see out toward Tallahassee has some of that. The Gulf Coast here, we have enough instability, and then up here toward Valdosta. Hopefully, as this kind of moves over, it'll get into an air mass that's a little more stabilized, but there's enough destabilization there. Maybe it can maintain itself for a little while. Maybe some of this could kind of carry in there. Let me see here. I think that yellow, I wanted to see how it's tracking over the last, yeah, no, actually, okay, that's going back a while, so you can see how much it was showing earlier on. Let's go back to the current and do this again here. I wanted to see the last frame actually before. Okay, it hadn't really changed too much. Then I thought it might kind of carry it on in, but it may not. So hopefully this will be only warning, but you just never know here for the overnight period. Which again, we don't generally have these too often. Right now, I'm not talking about a tornado situation, but a more populated area than we'll sometimes get into these. I mean, it's kind of maybe waking you guys up here in the night with the storm and so there's rumbles of thunder out there. So maybe just want to kind of know what's happening. Look at those total cloud tops there, towing the weather story inward parts of our area. Not everything is setting up quite like it looks like from aloft, but again, you can see the cooler air, by the way, though, further up. I know that's nice to see, but it's trying to work its way in. We've talked about in the forecast cycle that we're not going to see a lot of that here necessarily come on in, but I know as we're looking at things, just kind of looking across the country at some of the rest, that's your national tornado risk, and then you see a marginal risk further up. But then down here, this is about wind here, and that's what we're seeing with this warning right now. So that's what we're on the air. I know it's a very odd time. Sorry for waking you guys up and you're not in the line of concern, but just needed to let people know what was going on there in case there's some danger for parts of Lanier and Lowndes counties there this morning. So again, all about protecting you, your friends, and your family. Got a significant weather advisory right now being issued for areas of it looks like Atkinson and Clinton. The Jacksonville office issuing that, and they'll be in charge as we get further on out toward the East Dare County warning area with this. So again, you can kind of see it is looking like it's showing some signs of weekend, but still winds of 40 miles an hour just off the ground in there. So got to be kind of mindful of that. But I know these temperatures here are very warm here. I mean, this time of year you'll have this sometime at night, but we're getting a little bit of warmer air in here, moisture air, more unstable air in some cases. You see mid-upper 70s there in play. So just something to kind of touch on here at 1:14 on this Wednesday morning in the Weather Center. But with the severe thunderstorm warning in play until technically it goes to 1:45. I don't think it's going to last that long, to be quite honest. Which would be good if it didn't last that long, but we'll just continue to watch things here. Continue to give you guys the very latest. Of course, I know our attention here will start to shift from the summertime storms to the tropics as we get later on here. We'll talk about that in our formal update about an hour ago, and then we talked about it earlier on how eventually even we'll have more organized severe setups here in the fall, winter, spring months potentially. El Nino could kind of help with that being a little bit worse, unfortunately, and then the Gulf of Mexico being warmer than it's been as well. That could help keeping up there with the energy values there. Maybe put some a little bit higher and combine it with shear that would already be up there. So that could be an issue, but that's not what we're talking about necessarily right now. So again, we have this severe thunderstorm warning in play. Let's real quick though, I want to say, you guys, since we just had the forecast, if you guys are just maybe waking up, getting ready for work, and missed our formal update, we have our forecast still up here in our system. So let's go ahead and pop that up there, and you can see what we're expecting. Again, I generally don't show this here at 1:16 in the morning, but you can see 80% chance of rain today. A lot of rain around severe weather. Well, we have had that risk. We don't have that yet for the new outlook. We may get another marginal though for Wednesday. And then Thursday, we'll have the stuff start to get further out of the western areas, but eastern areas will have stuff to deal with it. And Friday, see lesser amount. Saturday, those rain chances dropping some. We'll have some more moisture come in for Sunday. Monday, kind of dropping back a little bit. And then Tuesday, you see a little bit more so with those average highs there really being surpassed a little bit, but the lows a little closer, so not quite as humid. out there maybe here in this overall setup, which would be some good news. But again, just breaking that down for you guys. If you missed that here a little while ago, since we have to be on with a special update here at this time of night. So again, just continuing to give you guys the very latest on what's going on here right now. I'm just going to go ahead and keep checking here everything that's happening. So, and I'm going through all our different tools here within the toolkit. If you're wondering what I'm doing right now behind the scenes, just to see what's going on with this, we just thought we'd jump on because we were seeing some areas there of concern in the Word of Valdosta area. Could have had damage really quick there, right when that warning got issued, right before. That can happen sometimes. So I just have to be kind of careful here in that regard. So again, just continue to watch things here, continue to monitor things here in the weather center. And then we had a couple areas, unfortunately, earlier on that Tuesday there, where we had some issues of damage in Union and Clay. Not something widespread, but we had those before we had any or ever had really warnings for those areas in play. But that's just how it is in summertime, especially. I'm more prone to that than we would be other times of the year. So let's go ahead and see real quick our rainfall forecast here if we can. I wanted to say you guys this. I know we'll get updates. We'll be getting more updates on this here later. But this tells you where the moisture is not going to be added. So we have that core air mass. They've been just inundated with moisture, like in southeast Missouri. Thankfully, Oklahoma, quieter pattern here. It's been a rough period for some areas around Tulsa, around southeast Missouri, in different regards. So just something to kind of bear in mind here. Where at least things might end up being a little bit calmer here as we look ahead. So that'd be some good news if that is indeed the case here. We'll just have to watch. You can see down toward our area, the moisture around it. That's why the high rain chances, at least the next couple of days here. You can kind of see the moisture levels. I mean, in terms of the rainfall, just correlating that to some degree. You can see an inch or so. Many of our spots on average. Some spots toward maybe the first coast, the Gulf Coast, a little bit more though. I know this time of year where we can get some flooding events sometimes near the Gulf Coast. Not necessarily expecting that in a widespread manner here, but we've had it before this time of year. But again, that's not necessarily something we're seeing signals of right now, but we'll watch to make sure that doesn't happen. You can see South Florida could have some flooding with those levels of rain there for the next 7 days. I know there's on Fort Lauderdale. They've had a bunch of rain here this year. Other spots of South Florida and sometimes they down there, they need the rain. So it's kind of tricky. I mean, areas there, as you're looking just south of Tampa, I believe it is, look at some more drought index information. So just kind of interesting in that regard. They're going to go ahead and continue this warning here right now. So let's go back on over to it then. You can kind of see what we're dealing with. Right now. They just gave us an update here at 1:19. That this warning is going to continue there until about 1:45 in the morning. So at 1:19, it's a thunderstorm was located over Moody Air Force Base. So let's see if we're getting any type of wind out of there then. That should kind of give us a reading here pretty soon if we have some real stronger winds there. It's 8 miles southwest of Lakeland, Georgia, moving northeast at 20 miles an hour. So parts of Valdosta included Lakeland there, portions of that area included Moody Air Force Base, Meigs, Naylor, Barrett, Stockton as well, Hansel there. Or Hansel maybe. It could be pronounced differently, I suppose, there. But just going to continue to watch things there. As you see this wind energy, it doesn't seem as robust, moving more towards Stockton and Naylor right now, it would seem, and in the radar side actually, and we're at a spot where you're going to get so low, sometimes it doesn't set a full grasp here, maybe of the overall situation. It doesn't necessarily give that to you guys here. In terms of just the overall impact. This year, and so much stronger winds. You see 27 there. Moody Air Force Base reported at 117. So we just got an observation there, but nothing overly impressive. So it may be about time to wrap things up. We don't see too much here pretty soon, which would be some good news. We're seeing winds here right near the coast. You can see southwest of Pineland could have winds in excess of 40. Other service had mentioned they could issue a warning on that if it intensified. This up here, where we ended up seeing things intensify enough for a warning for a little while, right there, right about excuse me, 1 a.m., we had some wind enhancement here. Really started us up right in town, and then we had a warning issued, and then it started to fade. As it got closer to the radar, it could have just been not reading that quite there. It's high up, and it might have not really been weakening as much as it looked like from that vantage point. But again, I know while we're on at this late hour, it's just, we'll go ahead and mention hurricane season again, because I know there's just different things here that indicate we could start to see some storms develop. Don't know where they're headed at exactly at this point, and we don't have a lot more to tell you. I mean, at this moment in time, to be quite honest. But let me just go ahead and pull up our outlook here from 8 o'clock, and there'll be another one here pretty soon. That's what happens when we're on this time of night. But again, we'll pop this up real quick. This is your late Tuesday National Hurricane Center update. We'll be watching for formation in the Gulf here. Next 7 days, only 20% chance, but maybe we'll have to just kind of watch even beyond that here. Could have some stuff starting to get going. Those are some hot water temperatures, even with El Nino acting as a suppressant here. We'll have to be paying attention, because you have, those hot water temperatures could help overcome storms. Really could be help there to overcome that suppressant by the enhancement there of the hotter water temperatures. Very hot, unusually hot. So even though we have some good things in terms of suppressant with El Nino, that does increase the Pacific's hurricane number in general, increase our severe chance, but it's supposed to decrease our storms here overall. The number, the forecast, maybe not showing that anymore because of that hot water temperature. I hope we get lucky, but we'll have to just watch things. You see 30% chance out off the coast of Africa there right now. A couple systems we'll be watching as well. So it's starting to get closer toward that peak of hurricane season. I know. We'll just have to continue to watch things. And you might have heard me kind of knock on wood. I didn't mean to do that, but we need to do that here, really, knock on wood. We don't have any impacts from any systems here this year. Anybody in the U.S., or just hope everything recurves away from every land area. That'd be great. It had happened here in some ways in past seasons with more of them recurving, at least. No, early 2010s there, early part of the decade there, we saw more recurvatures away from the U.S. at least. So, again, it can happen, but I know you're probably wondering why I'm talking about the tropics in the middle of the night here. It's because we're on for that warning. Not as impressive up toward Lanier and Lowndes, but just wanted to stay on a little bit longer here, just in case we have some resurgence there with that overall threat. So that's what we're tracking here right now. Let me go ahead and jump back on over here. Let me go ahead and jump back on over here to our other mode. You can see that warning in the marginal risk, the 1 out of 5 risk here. So we'll just continue to be watching things here in that regard, and just see if things become maybe a little stronger in a couple spots. But I mean, this is not for now in play for your day 2. Could end up seeing that happen here though. So we'll be watching, we'll be tracking, of course, every day 1 once they change that. But again, we'll just keep on giving you guys the latest here to protect you, your friends, and your family, just in case. Right now, just general thunderstorm risk for it, but we could start to see that upgraded a bit. I know, just looking at some different things here. There's actually a landslide in South Texas. The only tornado report for your Tuesday period per se. Had some stuff there. Southwest Georgia, some wind reports. North Central Florida, some wind reports. So definitely kind of interesting to touch on in general. Even, unfortunately, a fatality there around Durham, North Carolina. A tree fell on a vehicle, killing a 78-year-old female. So you hate hearing stuff like that. But locally, with some of our reports, I know we had different impacts in different places here. Nothing like that I've been made aware of around here to that level of just terribleness. But again, in the Union, Florida, we had a report of a tree down on power lines by thunderstorm winds around Middleborough before we had the threat really become magnified on the Doppler at least. But getting on over later in the timeline, we had some stuff in Georgia that we had to watch and keep tabs on there, and give you guys the latest on, of course. And I know, just seeing some of the different impacts here towards some of our different counties. Let me go ahead and kind of click on this to see if I can get a a little bit more of a localized breakdown here of what we're talking about. So, with some of those reports back on that Tuesday, I know west of Albany we had a report around Walker, 5 miles northwest of Walker there. We had a tree reported down in there, the 6,000 block of Tallahassee Road in Albany, Georgia. And then trees reported down on Highway 45 before Arlington and Early County around Wawena, that community. So, again, just continuing to track things here as we look. Let's get back on over to the other viewpoint right now. The other viewpoint. This warning technically goes to 145. Again, don't expect it to really stay in play that long. By the way, you're watching from Adele. You're okay right now. You're not seeing anything imminent for you guys. And south of Perry, again, you have some wind enhancement there that we'll watch. Again, definitely unusual to have a warning this time of night here. 127 just set an advisory issued for Berrien there. Berrien County now, so the southeastern portion. So let's kind of keep an eye on that area then. That's till about 2:15, so maybe the way this is filling in here, maybe kind of closing the gap, but I think Lanier would be in that, so we'll see what they do here then. Be curious to see what that box looks like. But again, just continuing to track things here in the Weather Center. Just making sure you guys have the latest to protect you, your friends, and your family. So again, let's see what else we want to say. Okay, this canceled the warning now. That's what we're kind of seeing the trend at on radar. So that's some good news here. Dropping that warning there as we're looking at things, as we're looking at some of our latest scans. The yellow box about to go away off the screen. We're just not seeing the conditions quite as nasty maybe as they were in this area. So that's something to keep in mind. I know another thing to keep in mind, of course, we've been mentioning it here in this update, other updates, hurricane season at peak. We're less than a month away from the peak. So just make sure you have that hurricane kit up to date in case things happen. You're changed pretty quickly. Not at this point, we're not seeing that yet, but just be ready just in case here. I know last year things were a little bit later getting going, but they really got going late September with Ian, of course. Hurricane Ian, a disastrous storm there towards southwest Florida. So, okay, you see the warning no longer up there on the board. Officially they're gone now. Again, just continuing to track things here for a few seconds longer. I do see the latest probabilities just came out for the tropics. 40% for the central tropical Atlantic next 7 days, 30 for the eastern, and then 20 still for the western Gulf. So that's just coming on out. So if you guys are wondering about that. So your new advisory here, well, it's kind of interesting the way I drew this out then. So that's right. Another advisory then must have came on out. Yeah, I don't. It must have not got. Okay, there we go. Well, okay, maybe it's our system cutting it off then. Okay, that was what it was. I'm sorry. Our system here was cutting off the information on either source. It was for Berrien, Lanier, and Lowndes, which was the indication they were going to drop the warning. 40-mile-an-hour winds through 2:15. So not meeting that severe criteria anymore, which is some good news. Let's see if there's any power outages here. Let me see if there's any power outages in play here. At this point in time, we'll go ahead and see. I know Georgia, about 4,000 customers in the dark right now in the Peach State. Let's just see if any of those are in our local counties here. According to that aggregate map from Powerdith.us, I know quite a few up there in East Central Georgia showing up, it looks like. In the Wardour counties, well, we do have 96 customers out in Mitchell County, 77 in Doherty. Some of this may be from earlier. 16 in Calhoun, 43 in Terrell, 164 in Lowndes, 44 in Grady, 32 in Decatur. So you kind of get the idea with all that there then. As we continue to track things, again, that advisory was for Berrien, Lanier, and Lowndes. This is our system, the way I had it set up on my source. It's cutting off the other counties, but that makes sense there. Just replacing it with the advisory here at this point in time. So, again, about to wrap things up. You can see that overview here. We have some strong storms that complex here in the ward that's coastal zone toward Taylor County. We'll keep watching in case. I kind of doubt we'll get any more warnings here, but things starting to break on us. So we'll let you know either by posting or by actually coming on. Hopefully we won't have to come on and wake you guys up, especially if we're not in the path of that stuff here. But of course, it's our policy for any tornado warning storm. If we had that develop, there's very, very low chance of anything like that happening here within our 62 counties here in the overnight, almost zero, I mean, for that. But again, just continuing to give you guys everything you need here. But for now, I think that's going to do it. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for trusting me. And we'll be back here maybe during the day on that Wednesday if the conditions do warrant. Of course, our next one will be Thursday night. But again, back as those conditions warrant here. As those energy values come back into play during the day on that Wednesday, we'll see if we have some storms that become severe around our area.